Hey, I'm Kathy from Purposely Refurbished. Who knew that when my daughter enlisted my help to fix up a $5 coffee table for her new apartment, it would lead to refinishing and finding homes for hundreds of pieces of furniture nationwide. Over the past years, I've focused on learning everything I can and using only the best practices. Hit subscribe and follow here. Restoring this 1950s Jack Vandermeulen sideboard was a masterclass in mid-century modern craftsmanship. Unlike many pieces from this era, this sideboard was constructed of solid oak, no veneer, showcasing the quality and attention to detail of this period. Tackling its restoration was a true honor. Despite its excellent structural integrity, the piece suffered from deep scratches and a failing finish, and I was determined to work to revive its former glory. Here's how I brought this stunning piece back to life. For those passionate about refinishing and eager to learn restoration techniques, follow along as I detail each step of this rewarding process. Stripping the finish from this solid wood piece was a key step in its restoration. The original finish had layers of wax and contaminants that needed to be removed. I used Klean Strip for this process. Wearing my respirator, I applied the stripper with a chip brush. I have an angled tool I use to scrape and remove the finish that is my absolute go-to, and I will link it in the comments. I find my Surf Prep sander with a thick interface pad the easiest thing to use for sanding along corners, legs, edges. The pencil trick ensures even surface sanding. The pencil marks act as an indicator of high and low spots on the surface. As the areas get sanded more quickly, the high spots will lose their pencil marks first, while the low spots will retain marks longer. This visual cue helps you sand evenly across as you progress to the next grit. There were some really deep scratches that I still needed to deal with on the side of the piece. It was so satisfying to watch these deep scratches almost like magically disappear. I placed a damp rag over the scratch. I held a hot iron over it for a few minutes. You could see steam and moisture swelling the wood fibers, making the scratch almost vanish or at least minimize significantly. I did have to repeat the process a few times, and in the end, after using this process and lightly sanding in between, everything turned out perfectly. I use acetone multiple times in the process of refinishing, including after stripping and scraping and before sanding with some 000 steel wool and acetone to remove any built-up gunk. And for those of you that are going to say acetone will open or raise the grain too much, the simple solution is after using acetone, just come in with a high grit sandpaper and that will close everything up. Acetone is fast drying and it has no residue. The next step was applying a Mohawk wiping stain with a clean cloth. It has very little wiping back that is required. It really soaks into the grain, and 3 coats of stain were applied with a 320 sanding in between each coat. Mohawk Easy Sealer acts as a barrier and seals off the pores of the wood, so it prevents finish coats like lacquers or whatever from being absorbed unevenly into the wood, which can lead to that blotchy, uneven finish. It provides a base that will protect the finish from moisture, chemicals, and physical wear. The darker finish I'm applying is a glaze. It's applied in sections. You wait for it to be almost dry and then you wipe it back with a clean cloth. Glaze will help sort of add some dimension to the piece and give it a little more depth and color, which I was looking for in this scenario. Don't forget to sand with a high grit sandpaper between each coat. Oak tends to be really porous and it can absorb stain and finish unevenly. So using a toner, as you can see here, helps create a more uniform color, filling in the pores, evening everything out. It also adds a little more color and depth. Toner is in fact a lacquer, so it acts as a sealer and it helps protect the wood. Do not sand after toner. The next step And final step is coming in with pre-catalyzed lacquer. I apply 3 coats here, sanding with a high grit in between each coat. And here is the final finish. This is such a beautiful piece. It really, as I said, was such an honor to work on it. And just as a recap, here is the before. And here is the after. Let me know in the comments if you think I got this one right. How close is it to the original? And remember to hit subscribe for more tutorials coming up.